we come to I Quit by HAIM. And this was Karl's pick. So, yeah, you kick off the discussion.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, been a fan of the HAIM sisters since they started, really. Discovered them as they were kind of breaking out over here. They got a lot of coverage, I think, from, BBC Radio 1 at the time, when I was still listening to BBC Radio 1. And yeah, just really got into their early singles and EPs, Forever and Falling, two really stellar kind of summer singles that they had. And then I kind of saw them open the Pyramid stage at Glasgow in 2013, which is where SD had a famous what is it, like diabetic flare up, and had to, have a moment there. But yeah, it was at that show, and then not long after the debut album Days Are Gone dropped, which was, a belter of a first outing. Every track on there, could have easily been a single. It was just really refreshing and really different. Then the follow-up record came. I think it had its moments, but didn't quite grip me in the same way. I enjoyed the singles off that record, but overall found it quite, disappointing compared to the first album. But thankfully, yeah, they came back with Women in Music Part 3, which hands down my favorite of the three that they've released so far. Even, the bonus tracks on that album were outstanding. Obviously, they released some of them as standalone singles. Really great project. And yeah, off the back of that, reasonably hyped for this one. Loved Relationships straight away. I thought that was a great lead single. Really kind of catchy R&B style groove to it. Then they released Down to Be Wrong and Everybody's Trying to Figure Me Out, which I thought, it's kind of like the classic HAIM sound. And again, another pair of excellent singles in their catalogue of many excellent singles. They've both got that kind of country blues, what's the word, like smokiness, that they do so well. But obviously with this pop DNA in there as well. And yeah, so those three singles, obviously Women in Music Part 3, was looking forward to this one. And then, as you guys know, on that first play, I was initially a little bit underwhelmed. However, I would say since, I've sat with it for a while now, I have warmed to it. Did take a few plays, and I've still got my minor gripes with it, which I'll just touch on. I mean, I think firstly, it's not too long of a record in the fact that it's only 53 minutes, but it does feel overlong. So yeah, may have benefited from some editing out of a couple of tracks, particularly in that back half. And then secondly, I think it's important to say that, this is definitely a more understated and nuanced record than their previous work. So I think that's probably why it took me a little longer to get into the groove of it. It maybe doesn't have like those immediate hooks and catchy choruses that we're used to from HAIM as much. But yeah, that said, those two gripes aside, spend some time with it, and in the end, it does start to shine. I think the first half in particular is pretty faultless. The singles in there, obviously, but everything up to and including The Farm, I just really love. That song, The Farm, probably my favorite of the album cuts. It's just this real old school, Sheryl Crow-esque country tune. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, the second half a bit patchier. Lucky Stars and Million Years were two that I kind of marked down as okay, but they just kind of come and go. Closing track as well, Now It's Time, I found a bit of a clunky ending to the record. But yeah, there are some good moments in the back half too. I think, the 4-track run from Everybody's Trying to Figure Me Out through to Try to Feel My Pain, Spinning, another great song, Cry. I think that's a really fun stretch of tracks towards the back half, and that's probably my highlight of that back end. it's again, it's just another example of everything the Haim sisters do so well. Mixing those kind of pop melodies with that more rustic Americana charm. So yeah, it's one of those overall. I'd say it's another overall. It's another strong outing from the Haim sisters. I think, obviously, yeah, not as good as its predecessor in Women in Music Part 3, but for me, with a bit of time, there's more than enough great moments here to kind of forgive a few skips in the track list. So yeah, strong record.
So yes, broadly positive. And I think, you mentioned the chat. I think Kylie was the biggest fan in at least at the beginning, when we were sort of sharing our early thoughts. So is that still the case on this one?
Yeah, I think I share a lot of the same sentiments as Karl on this record. It is kind of lacking the hooks that you expect from them, but at the same time, it's fun to see, like listening to Days Are Gone and this back to back is just like, it's kind of shocking how much they've grown their sound. And credit to Danielle Haim and Rostam on the production on this record. Just in a weird way, like it being hookless, it does feel very current for pop music. To me, not necessarily the traditional hooks to roll you in, but more like the little montages that have the 10-second attention span feel. Yeah, I love this record, and from playing with the George Michael Freedom on Gone, and the relationships. Still, I think that's probably the biggest single on the album, and the one that stands out the most. And it's funny that you mentioned The Farm as well, because yeah, the Sheryl Crow, that really got me as well. But yeah, I'm as I kind of chimed in there. This record is just, it's almost an hour long, and that back half, it does kind of lose me every time, and I gotta skip through it. So yeah, a longer version of the BC Camplight record, where I do think the first half of this record is really good, and then the back half, I think I could leave some of it, but overall, it's really fun to watch them grow. And I would say that this is definitely not the record I would expect them to put out in 2025, and for that, I think it's awesome. It's a good curveball.
So yeah, I think I'm probably not going to veer too much, more positively, more negatively than what you've already shared. Really, I think broadly, again, I've enjoyed it. First one I've dived into. Always known their singles, but never really given the albums a go. So I was quite looking forward to giving this one a go. But clearly, quite a different direction they've taken with this, and mentioning Rostam, who, yeah, Kylie, I know you particularly kind of cite as the Loss of Vampire Weekend's kind of secret sauce, as it were. And I think the production on this is just excellent. There are so many different genre sort of covered here, I would say. And so it's not like what you typically expect in terms of the more kind of raw, rock country pop kind of mesh, which you'd expect from Haim, and where sometimes I think it really works, and it's nice that they've gone in this different direction. Other times, I'm probably sort of craving their more quintessential kind of output and sound, I suppose. And yeah, I would just echo. I mean, Gone in Relationships are probably the two best ones here. I also really like Take Me Back, and just all sorts going on that. We've got the xylophone in the second chorus, bit of harmonica, got the trumpet as well. That is, to me, that one is just so much fun. And I think, like I say, there's so much on here, whether it's genres, whether it's use of instruments, and it's all done kind of adequately in that sense, but whether it works for that particular song or not is the thing which makes some of them really stand out and others just kind of fill it out a bit. And certainly I would agree with the point that a bit of cutting would have really helped to make it a more cohesive effort. But yeah, really really enjoyable kind of first full go on the HAIM train, I suppose. And yeah, just really, grew to really enjoy it. Where I think on the first listen, a bit like Karl, I was, scratching my head a bit and not really feeling it at all. But over time, like I say, I think, yeah, I really appreciated the ambition of it and what they tried to do song by song. And yeah, like I say, the production is very, very good. But yeah, like I say, the ones which stood out the most, generally those more kind of typical HAIM moments, really. So yeah, you guys said it. I'm going to keep my review ultra short because there's not too much deviation or to add on top. And yeah, very enjoyable record, good one to listen to. Could have done with a bit of a cut. There we go. So that is I Quit